Today's story is the Convergence Foundation. Let's listen together. The letter arrived on paper so white it hurt to look at. Seojun held it in his cramped studio apartment, his fingers leaving no prints on its surface, as if the paper refused to remember his touch. The invitation was simple: a competition. 3 days, 1 position. Compensation that would solve every problem he had.
This can't be real.
But the watermark was real, the embossed seal was real, and the address in Gangnam was real. He'd been unemployed for 6 months since the whistleblower incident, since he'd told the truth and watched his entire life collapse. His mother needed surgery. The bills were piling up like snow. This was his last chance. A text from an unknown number, just an address and tomorrow's date. When Seojun tried to research the Convergence Foundation online, he found nothing. No website, no articles, no existence. Just a registered business address in one of Seoul's most expensive towers. That night he dreamed of his father. Dead for 3 years, but in the dream he sat across the kitchen table where they used to play Baeduk. The stones on the board were teeth, black and white teeth, clicking against each other.
Distant, echoing. They'll take your truth, Seojun. They'll rewrite what you are.
Seojun woke at 3 a.m., drenched in sweat. The letter glowed on his desk, not reflecting light, glowing. He told himself it was just the street lamp outside, but he couldn't stop staring until dawn. The Convergence Foundation occupied the 43rd floor. Seojun rode the elevator alone, watching the numbers climb. When the doors opened, the silence hit him like a physical weight. No background music, no distant conversations, just the whisper of air conditioning and something else, a low-frequency hum that made his teeth ache. The receptionist sat behind a desk of black glass. Her face was too smooth. Her smile never touched her eyes.
Seojun, you're the last to arrive.
She hadn't asked his name, hadn't checked a list.
How did you...
This way.
The hallway seemed longer than the building was wide. The abstract paintings on the walls shifted when he wasn't looking directly at them. In one, he saw his father's face, screaming. The conference room held 4 others around a table of black glass. They looked up as he entered. Their eyes were hollow, empty, as if something had been scooped out from behind them. A woman in a sharp suit, a young man with a cocky smile that didn't reach his dead eyes, a silver-haired gentleman, and a woman his age who looked terrified. Seojun sat. No one spoke. The walls were soundproof. He could feel it, a pressure in his ears, a sense of being sealed away from the world. The man who entered moved wrong, too smooth, too fluid, like something pretending to be human but not quite getting it right.
Thank you for coming. I'm Choi. The Convergence Foundation specializes in truth management. We don't manipulate information, we rewrite it. We make certain truths exist and others cease to exist.
The temperature in the room dropped. Seo-jun could see his breath.
Over 3 days, we'll test your adaptability, your willingness to surrender what you believe for what we need. The winner joins us. The others, well, we'll see.
What do you mean, see?
Choi smiled. It was like watching a corpse smile.
Let's begin.
A screen descended, a video played, a man in an interrogation room, bruised and crying, claiming innocence. When it ended, Choi turned to them.
This man is guilty. Make him innocent. 2 minutes each.
The sharp-suited woman spoke first. Her voice was confident as she constructed a narrative of false accusation. But Seo-jun watched her hands. They were shaking. When she finished, Choi nodded, and something changed in her eyes. A flicker, a dimming. The young man went next, aggressive, dismissive. When he finished, the same flicker. The silver-haired man took a measured approach. Same result. Then the terrified woman tried to speak, and couldn't. She stood and ran for the door. It was locked. She pulled and pulled, whimpering, until Choi stood and walked to her. He whispered something in her ear. She went silent. When she returned to her seat, her eyes were completely empty.
Your turn, Seo-jun.
Seo-jun's mouth was dry. He looked at the others. They were staring at nothing, seeing nothing.
I can't. He might be guilty. I can't make him innocent if he's not.
Choi's smile widened.
Fascinating. Day 1 is complete. We'll resume tomorrow at 9 a.m. Don't be late.
Seo-jun tried to follow the others out, tried to talk to them, but they moved like sleepwalkers. In the elevator, the sharp-suited woman stared at the wall. He waved his hand in front of her face. Nothing.
Are you okay?
She didn't respond, didn't blink. When the elevator reached the lobby, they all walked out in perfect unison and disappeared into waiting black cars. That night, Seo-jun dreamed again. His father sat across from him, but his face was rotting.
Voice distorted. 4 will become 3. 3 will become 2. 2 will become 1. And 1 will become nothing.
Seo-jun woke, gasping. It was 3 a.m. again. Always 3 a.m. He checked his phone. 5 missed calls from his mother. But when he called back, the number was disconnected. The hospital had no record of her ever being a patient. He told himself he was remembering wrong. Stress, fear. But when he looked at his apartment, nothing was quite where he'd left it, as if someone had copied it from memory and gotten the details slightly wrong. Day 2. 4 people sat around the table. The sharp-suited woman's chair was gone, as if it had never existed.
Where's
who?
the woman? The one in the suit. She was here yesterday.
They stared at him blankly.
There were only 4 of us. Always 4.
Seo-jun's heart hammered. He remembered her, the way she'd spoken, the trembling in her hands, but around the table the others looked at him like he was insane.
Good morning. Let's continue.
Day 2 was worse. The scenarios became darker, a company covering up deaths, a politician burying evidence. Each time someone answered, Choi nodded, and their eyes dimmed further. By lunch, the young man was gone. Seojun watched him leave for the bathroom and never return. When Seojun asked about him, the silver-haired man frowned.
What young man? It's always been the three of us.
Seojun stood and ran to the bathroom. Empty. He searched every floor. Nothing. When he returned to the conference room, only 2 chairs remained, his and one other. The terrified woman sat across from him, but she wasn't terrified anymore. Her face was blank, peaceful, empty.
Can you hear me? Do you remember the others?
She smiled. It was Choi's smile.
There are no others. There's only us, and soon there will only be one.
Seojun didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw his father's rotting face, saw the empty eyes of the other candidates, saw himself in a black suit with Choi's smile. At 3 a.m., his phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Silence. Then his father's voice, distant and distorted.
Off through phone, barely audible. Run. They're erasing you. Run while you still remember who you are.
Day 3. 1 chair. Seojun sat alone at the black glass table. The walls felt closer. The air felt thicker. Choi entered and sat across from him.
Congratulations, you're the last one.
Where are the others?
What others?
Choi placed a folder on the table. Black leather. Expensive. Inside, Seojun could see documents, contracts, a photograph of himself, but different. Smiling. Empty.
Your final test. Sign this. Join us. Or leave and forget this ever happened. Those are your only options.
And if I refuse both?
Choi's smile finally reached his eyes. It was not reassuring.
No one refuses both.
Seojun stood. His legs shook but held. He walked to the door. It was locked. He pulled. Nothing. Choi watched him, amused.
The door opens when you choose. Sign or forget. Which will it be?
Seojun looked at the folder. At the contract that would solve everything. At the photograph of himself with empty eyes. He thought of his father, not the rotting dream version, but the real man who taught him to play Baduk, who taught him that some games aren't worth winning.
I choose to remember.
The black glass table cracked down the middle. Choi's smile vanished.
That's not an option.
It is now.
Seojun slammed his fist into the glass. It shattered. He grabbed a shard and drove it into the folder, piercing through contracts and the photograph of his empty future. The lights exploded. The walls screamed. And suddenly, the door was open. Seojun ran down the hallway that stretched forever, past paintings that reached for him, into the elevator that fell faster than physics allowed, through the lobby where the receptionist's face split into something with too many teeth, out into the street where rain fell upward and the sky was the wrong color. He ran for hours, days. Time moved strangely. When he finally stopped, he was on the other side of Seoul, in an alley that smelled like rot. His hands were covered in blood, his or someone else's. He couldn't tell. In his pocket, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. One word. Soon. Seo-jun threw the phone away and kept running. Found a different hospital. His mother was there, confused about why he looked so panicked. She asked about his job interview. He told her he didn't get it. She hugged him, told him his father would be proud. But when he looked in the mirror later, his eyes were dimmer than before. Just slightly, almost imperceptibly, as if something small had been taken, something he couldn't quite name. That night, he tried to write everything down, tried to document what happened. But the words kept changing on the screen. Names becoming blank spaces, events reordering themselves. By morning, he'd written a story about a normal job interview at a normal company where nothing strange happened at all. Seo-jun deleted it and tried again. Same result. The Convergence Foundation was rewriting his truth, even now, even here, making the memory unstable, making it easy to dismiss as stress, as hallucination, as anything but what it was. He called a journalist he'd worked with before, tried to explain. The journalist listened politely and suggested he get some rest. Seo-jun hung up and stared at his shaking hands. He could still remember, could still see their empty eyes. But for how long? A week passed. He found work at a small firm. Nothing special, nothing dangerous. But every morning at 3 a.m. he woke to his phone ringing. Unknown number. And every morning when he answered, he heard his own voice on the other end. Calm, empty, telling him it was time to come back, time to sign the contract, time to stop fighting. Seo-jun never answered now, just listened to his hollow voice leaving messages that erased themselves by dawn. He looked for the Convergence Foundation online. Found nothing, asked people if they'd heard of it. They looked at him strangely and changed the subject. His mother's condition stabilized, not cured but managed. She asked him once if he regretted not taking that job with the good salary and benefits. He said no. But sometimes, in reflections, he saw himself in a black suit with empty eyes, saw himself sitting in a conference room on the 43rd floor, saw himself becoming Choi. The city continued around him. People went to work, lived their lives, none of them knowing that somewhere in an office that might not exist, the Convergence Foundation was rewriting truth, making people disappear, turning resistance into compliance and memory into nothing. Seo-jun walks through Seoul now with the knowledge that he's still being erased. Slowly, carefully, one memory at a time, one truth at a time, until eventually he'll forget he ever refused. Forget there were 5 of them. Forget his father's warning. And when he forgets, he'll get another invitation. Another letter on paper so white it hurts to look at. And this time he'll sign. But not yet. Not today. Today he still remembers, still resists, still believes that some part of him is worth keeping, even as it's slowly written out of existence. His father taught him that, in dreams or memory or whatever space the dead inhabit, that the only victory that matters is the one where you remain yourself, even if yourself is slowly becoming nothing. Somewhere in the city, another letter is being delivered, another invitation, another candidate who thinks they're choosing opportunity. Seodan sees these people sometimes, in coffee shops, on subways. They have a look, desperate, hopeful, doomed. He wants to warn them, wants to grab them by the shoulders and scream that the Foundation doesn't give you opportunities. It takes you, erases you, replaces you with something wearing your face. But when he opens his mouth, nothing comes out. The Foundation has already rewritten that part of him, the part that can warn, the part that can save others. All that's left is the part that remembers, and even that is fading. At 3 a.m., his phone rings. He doesn't answer, but he knows. One day soon, he will. One day soon, the memory will be gone, and the empty version of himself will rise from bed, get dressed, and walk calmly to the 43rd floor. Will sit in a chair that remembers him even though he doesn't remember it. Will sign a contract in handwriting that looks like his, but isn't. Will become nothing while believing he's finally become something. But not tonight. Tonight, Seo-jun still remembers his father's hands teaching him to play baduk. Still remembers the feeling of refusing. Still remembers that there were 5 of them, then 4, then 3, then 2, then 1. And soon there will be none. The city sleeps. The Foundation waits. And in a small apartment on the east side of Seoul, a young man sits in the dark, holding on to memories that are slowly turning to fog, trying to remember why he's fighting, trying to remember what he's fighting for, trying to remember his own name before it's rewritten into something else entirely. The phone rings. He stares at it. Unknown number. His own voice waiting on the other end. Patient, inevitable. Not tonight, but soon.